It's Guess the Handicaps, our preview of the Gaelic football weekend. It's Mick here from Balls.ie, and playing today are Gary and PJ. We're going to look ahead to the biggest games of the football weekend in the Alliance Football League Division 1 and 2. And the boys, if they can, are going to try and pick what the bookies' handicaps are for each game. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe now. We're here with the hurling every Thursday and the football every Friday, all the way through the GAA season. Let's get to the football. Let's start with Division 1, lads. We've 3 of the 4 games we're going to cover here. Poor Armagh and Tyrone didn't make the cut. But Donegal, Tyrone, Saturday evening, 5 o'clock. Donegal and Monaghan, Donegal and Tyrone played last week. Monaghan, managerless and homeless and everything else. And they have to go to Ballybuffet this weekend. PJ, as the challenger, you get to go first.
Donegal look really sharp last weekend, I thought, against Tyrone, especially Michael Murphy. Like, the forwards look most of their forwards look pretty sharp as well. Monaghan lost by 4 to Armagh. Donegal are definitely smarting after like that losing the Cavan, that Ulster final loss. They're really, I'm sure that they're really hurting. They look like they look like Meath. They're all Ireland contenders this year. They're definitely all Ireland contenders. I think they're favourites in this game. I'm going to say they're Donegal -3.
Donegal -3. Funny, Gary, I remember I did a piece on this a couple of years ago about Murphy and kind of comparing him to like Galway's old Joe Canning, where he was too important to them out the field and in the field. But I saw somebody describing Michael Murphy this week in one of the papers as the best midfielder, centre forward and full forward in the country. Which, so it always does come down to who's going to take on that mantle for the places he can't be in over the course of the game for Donegal. And I don't know, I feel like this could be a year where they figure it out. I don't know, just maybe I get too excited about 1 week.
It'd be interesting to see what they figure out first, who Donegal can play in the full forward line instead of Michael Murphy, or if they can clone him. It'd be one or the other. But I'd say, Donegal are going to be favourites for this game. With these games, when it comes to the handicaps, I'm always worried about the Ulster tax. I always think that the handicap is always maybe a point closer than it should be, just because they're 2 teams from Ulster. So because of that reason, I'm going to say Donegal -2.
I like your reasoning for it, but PJ did actually get this nailed on, which is the first time Gary's been behind in Guess the Handicap's 2021 history. So good start there for PJ. We're on to now the big game. We can take a second or two on this one, lads, because 20 years on from Semple Stadium hosting its most famous ever football match, it will be back for only a league fixture this time, but yet it is the clash of 6 in a row All-Ireland champions, Dublin, versus the previous, I don't know if many people even realise that Kerry were the last team to win All-Ireland in 2014. I don't know if any of those players even still play. But yeah, Thurles, again, I think there's more romanticism than actually matters about this. But in fairness, more so after what Kerry did last week and after David Clifford setting the world on fire, and Dublin being grand against Roscommon and doing enough to win, and usual like Cormac Costello scores a heap of scores, and you kind of this could be the year, Cormac, but at the same time, the intrigue level, I actually just can't wait for this game. I really can't.
Yeah, I'm not going to get bogged down into the Thurles aspect of it, because I think I was 5 or 6 when that first game was played, so I'm not going to harp back to that.
Teams, to be honest.
Like Kerry were absolutely unbelievable last weekend. I don't know, Galway, like, who they beat by 22 points, I think, which is an absolutely scandalous scoreline in Division 1 of the National Football League, and no matter what the circumstances. But Galway didn't look fit to me at all. They looked way off, which obviously is understandable, but Kerry were straight ahead of them. Clifford was like, that third goal, I was looking at him, I shouted at. It's very rare in Gaelic football when you're watching a goal that you actually like stand up and shout, just because there's so many scores in the game. But that was ridiculous, the dummy goal. Dublin, like you said, like, we don't really learn anything from them beating Roscommon, except that they got a hat full of penalties. But this game is like, how will the neutral how will the neutral venue and Kerry hammering Galway affect the handicap? Yeah. So then I'm thinking that I'm going to go Dublin -1.
Okay. PJ, as a Kerry man, did you? I just wondered, like, that you've had a fairly, you're a fairly kind of like steady kind of guy in general. You know, you don't get too overexcited about things. You've had a bit of David Clifford mania going on in your life now for a few years. Like, I watched an All Ireland minor final with you a good while ago now, and David Clifford, I think, scored 4-7 or something like that in that
against poor old Derry.
Yeah. But I don't know if he's ever kind of like shone on the senior stage in quite the way he did last week, where you're just going, this guy, if he wanted to, could get like 5-20 in this game. You know what I mean? It was just he was like everything he touched, you know?
Yeah. I thought Kerry really benefited from, what do you call it, light touch regulation defending from Galway. It was like, you know,
no press,
Galway were like Fianna Fáil there in the 2000s, and Kerry were like the banks riding roughshod over everything. They were
Galway's lack of regulation is really like the whole time.
Yeah.
Who's David Clifford in that analogy?
I think we should stop making. We should stop making. David Clifford, not David Drum, and
stop it.
Sean Mulcairn is not Charlie McGreevy in this situation. We're going to stop. I think we might stop with financial comparison there. Like, it's like if you wait, that game is Kerry are going to get a much harder game defensively against Dublin. Like, I thought Peter Keane taking the year in this the year a little bit too far by saying anyone could have won the game between Galway and Kerry. I often think the most Year comments, what people think of as that kind of put in that kind of category of comment where there's this comical underplaying of Kerry's abilities and chances, is when no one says Yera at all. Like that was like that was pure distilled Yera. Like that was like moonshine Yera compared to like in the past. It would have been like this nice kind of liqueur. I don't know if you remember before the league game in 2019 where Kerry beat Dublin. Yeah, didn't Kerry beat Dublin in Tralee, I think, or they drew? And Peter Keane said, I was out in the back garden there last week, and didn't I see a flower in full bloom? I didn't think it was summer. And that was a level of year where you're like, this nice kind of folksiness to it. But he went a little bit too far after the Galway game.
Yeah, a 50-point win over Galway.
Yeah. I like Paddy Clifford should have had a hat trick as well, on top of like David Clifford having a hat trick. Like Mick, you said Dublin did enough. They won by 9 points.
It's weird, isn't it? It was like they were kind of they were 6 or 7 ahead so early that it was like when you're I was half watching that, half watching, but trying to keep an eye on everything, and it was like as if they never stretched away in the way you expected it to. That's what I mean by did enough. But they had the game won the entire time, but you just expected it the way Dublin matches do. Do you remember like in the semi-final last year against Cavan where they're kind of like tipping away and it feels like a game, and without anything really happening, they're 12 points up and the game's over. That's the way Dublin do these things, and that never happened as such. And that's kind of it is the reason I'm explaining myself over explaining myself here is because I think that's actually the underrated point of why Dublin are so good and almost unbeatable, is that that's what they do. They don't even, nothing special happens, and suddenly one team misses 3 chances and they've scored 6 chances and they've gone from a 4-point lead to a 10-point lead, and it's a killer. And if anybody's to have any hope, it's that stops happening.
I think Gary is probably right with -1. How many times can we make jokes about Dublin looking like they have a few more weeks work than everyone else done? I'll make it there. I'm sure you probably made it last week. No, it's true. The neutral venue, Debbie Farrell not being there, Mick Galvin on the sidelines. I don't know. We got scratch for this game. So it's no handicap.
The other way, but it doesn't matter anyway, really, because Gary did actually nail it on. I had Dublin -3 here. I thought that was a bit of an overreaction to, this is still the Kerry team that got beaten in the Munster semi-final last year, but There you go. I think I might have forgot about the Thurles factor for a couple of minutes while I was picking these. On to the other game then, because speaking of overreaction, so it's 1-1. Good contest. You've both got you both held serve with an exact pick with an ace both times so far. But the other game in Division 1 I want to talk about, Sunday 2:00 in Pearse Stadium, Galway versus Roscommon. Big Connacht battle. Roscommon, we talked about their performance against Dublin. I actually think they came out with some credit in that game. They're never really going to beat Dublin unless a lot of things happen. But Galway's performance was such a disappointment. We talked about them last year, letting themselves down in the championship almost, given what we thought they were kicking on under Joyce in the league. You're saying they look a little bit leggy, I think, Gary, you were saying it, weren't you? And it's just like, how do you change that around in 1 week? And what's the motivation when you've just got absolutely hammered?
Mm-hmm. And Roscommon here going to be mad to beat Dublin, mad to beat Galway as ever. But PJ, I'll let you rule the roost on this one first. What do you think?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I think Galway are favourites for this. On the basis of it's just their Galway and they're at home. But what actually happens, I'm not sure. Or, losing to Dublin by 9 points, not keeping them to single score to a single score is some counties might regard that as a success.
Do you remember we went to the Leinster final a few years ago, PJ, and thought that Laois were playing really well, and like the game was over. Like it was they ended up losing by about 20 points, and I don't think they did anything wrong in that entire match. It's kind of like I stand by that as. It sounds mealy-mouthed, but I think keeping Dublin to single scores is genuinely an achievement, even if not something to hang your hat on.
That was the Graham Brody game where no one had seen a goalkeeper do that before, and there was like gasps every time Brody stepped outside the half-back line. Galway minus... God, it's awful hard to tell here. There's going to be a reaction from Galway, you would think. Galway minus 3.
Yeah, it is hard to know. Like Roscommon would before the league would have even started, Roscommon would have had to have been targeted in this game really, just because of who else is in the division. And I'd say they're sick of going up and down between Division 1 and 2 at this stage. But this definitely would have been the game on their mind. Like minus 3 is probably could be right. I'm going to say minus 2 because I think minus 4 is too big, but I'm going to go minus 2.
It is minus 2, and it's interesting that you're kind of thinking minus 3, possibly even minus 4. So Gary takes a 2-1 lead here. I just think this is one of those things that's going by, as PJ said, the fact that it's Galway playing Roscommon and they're a bigger football county and traditionally beat them. Because I don't see what we can see from what happened last week that Galway are favourites for this, but maybe it's home advantage and I'm overreacting. Westmeath versus Mayo, lads, Division 2. The other game in Division 1 obviously is Armagh versus Tyrone. Which will be very interesting in its own right. I think we all would have known what I guessed it right anyway, so I thought it wasn't. So do you want to really, really quickly guess what that might have been?
Tyrone are at home.
No, Armagh are at home.
Tyrone minus 1.
Oh, that's not right.
No.
It's Tyrone minus 2. I don't know. I just thought that was a nailed on. Certainly. Anyway, let's move on to Division 2. Far more interesting. The best division in all of sport, as we spoke about last week. Westmeath versus Mayo. Mayo, very impressive last week. Look like they're not. Looks like they don't want to spend much time down in Division 2, having not been there in however many years you said last week, Gary. But Westmeath did beat the spread against Meath, which in this game is a real win, Gary. So congratulations to your beloved.
Okay, yeah. Less of that now, but it was. They were very unlucky. Like I was watching the game, it was tit for tat through the whole lot. They could have easily went the other way. And I'm not sounding like Peter Keane when I say that, but like Westmeath, this game it's tough for Westmeath. Like they're coming off a game against Meath to again be coming out against the team who are probably I would say by far the strongest in Division 2. Like Mayo hammered down last week in all respects. So I think even though Westmeath are home, obviously Mayo are going to be favourites. It's just a matter of how much credit the bookies are giving Westmeath, which is probably not much. I'm going to say minus 4 for Mayo. I think is probably about right.
PJ?
Yeah, I don't think that's enough. Gary, you say Westmeath were unlucky. You're up by 4 points with 14 minutes to play, I think it was.
That's why they were
unlucky.
unlucky.
You're unlucky if you're up by 4 points with 14 minutes to play and you don't win. I don't think I'm not sure if you can. Yeah, Mayo look Tommy Cornwell look class from what I saw. For Mayo, you got like 1-3. What a great sign that is for Mayo.
Yeah.
He was looking good last year. Tommy Points, Conroy, not Tommy Goal. Not Tommy Goals, Conroy.
But there is a chance
the major controversy from last year.
With all those retirements now, like it's like you become a little bit more senior and you kind of take on more responsibility. And you're already needed on the pitch, but I do feel like it's a chance for those guys to kick on. So like I feel like if Mayo can perform like that, I'd be seriously thinking about them in the championship, just as like, you know, all the players that can improve from what they did last year are all the younger guys who could be taking on more responsibility this year, you know?
Yeah. I think that young Heffian that I think he made his debut. He looked pretty good. I'm going to say, yeah, -4. I don't think it's enough. Mayo -5. It's probably -6, but Mayo -5. I'm going to say
it's -6. There's no 2 points for a win or 2 points for exact this year, PJ. So better off playing a conservative. Maybe I'm just a bit cowardly there, but I don't want to be doing too much maths on air and stuff. But there you go. 2-2.
No point being a hero.
There's no point being a hero, absolutely. I think we'll give you that one. You did say what it was. Right, staying with Division 2, Sunday, 2:00, Kildare versus Clare. This one is interesting. So Kildare, really, really good win against Cork, but I think underestimated how big a win Clare had over Laois. You know, everybody seen Owen Cleary's amazing point from the sideline. You can see it on Balls.ie's Twitter if you haven't. But Clare kind of continuing that unlikely Division 2 run where, you know, likely now with the short season that they probably won't get relegated again. But, you know, I wonder, will they ever consider maybe Division 2 isn't quite where we need to be anymore, and maybe we go to Newbridge and beat Kildare and say maybe this is Division 1 on the horizon, if ever there's a year to do it.
Wouldn't that be great? Yeah. The job Colin Collins has done there is incredible. Like I do, people do kind of talk about it, maybe just don't talk about it enough, but he really has done a great job. And like you would, like, who would have been your best player for years in Gary Brennan now? Like those,
yeah,
that was 7 points. I think they beat Laois Boy. I think Kildare will be favourites in this game, but like I wouldn't be backing them. They're not. I never like. I'm married to a Kildare woman. I got a real sense of how flaky they are. Quite flaky. I don't think Jack O'Connor has gotten rid of that in his time there so far. They've got some really, really good footballers. Not consistent enough, but I think they will be favourites in this game. I'm going to say Kildare -2.
Okay, Gary.
Yeah, I think the bookies might have that a little bit higher. I think just because it's, again, much like the Galway Roscommon thing, just because it's Kildare against Clare. So I'm going to probably say -3. I'd say for that count.
And it's -4. So it's 3-2 to Gary. I think you had that figured out. I think I'd be more along the lines of thinking that it should be where PJ is, but you figured it out, Gary, and that the bookies will. I have to say, it feels like these teams have been in Division 2 for a long time. And I feel like I've listened to this game on the radio quite a lot over the last few years on Clare FM, and like they did beat them one year. They beat them in the qualifiers, but like Clare always give Kildare a game, and that is just. And I know those things don't matter from year to year, but it feels like they do to me. So I wouldn't be at all surprised if that's a close game, but again, we'll wait and see what happens on Sunday. So PJ needs to get this. Gary, you can wrap up another win. You're 3-2 up. The Athletic Grounds in Armagh are hosting a homeless and banished town with their manager Paddy Talley. His suspension might be up actually. I'm not sure.
I think he's back. Yeah, he was back for last week's game.
He's back. So they're hosting. They were disaster against Mayo. And are playing Meath. By the way, I haven't even divided up these between north and south and everything like that. We'll just I'll get better at that next week when I look at the tables properly. But this is the north one, obviously, with down in it against Meath. What do you think, Gary?
Yeah, like Meath's beat Westmeath, obviously, but probably struggled more than a lot of people would have expected them to. Down, like, doesn't know what you can take for that, because obviously we know that Mayo are probably by far the strongest team in that division, like I was saying. So I'm really struggling with this one. I presume that home advantage, even though that they don't have it anymore. So I'm not sure.
It's such a hard game.
Advantage, yeah. I don't know.
It's such a hard game to call.
City from down.
Yeah,
I know Nori is basically on the border, but I don't know how far in. I don't know the geography of our mark quite as well.
Yeah, like I just because Meath are coming off a win and they were in Division 1 last year, they're probably going to be favourites. So I'm just going to go Meath -1, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Meath are favourites. That was Meath's last week was Meath's first win in the Football League in 2 years. Incredibly, it's
Well, no, sure they got promoted the year before. They were in Division 1 last year, so it was
Yeah,
just
but
one year where they
it would have been April, March 2019.
Oh, I suppose, yeah. By time, you're right. Yeah, they lost all their games last
maybe
season.
that's evens, but by time, I guess. Yeah. I think Meath are favourites. -1. God, this is awful hard to call. This is like it's like I'm not sure how much like it's just up the road for both teams essentially. Like
that's true.
Up the Armagh, like it's not that far to travel. I think I'm gonna have to go Meath. Oh God, Meath -2.
Reveal it there, please, Shane.
Oh
yeah. And we have another tiebreak. What a week we're having here on Guess the Handicap GAA preview show. For the second time in a row, we go to a tiebreak. I was hoping this wouldn't happen because of how farcical the last one was. But on 3, 2, 1, and the gap is go, Gary, okay?
Okay, right.
Okay, so as soon as I say 1 and stop talking, that's when you shout out your thing, right? We're going to the depths of Division 4 here, lads. And I've got a game between Antrim and Sligo. And I want you guys to guess the handicap 4 p.m. Sunday in 3, 2, 1.
Antrim
-3.
Antrim -3. And what does and I didn't actually hear what Kerry said, so I presume
Kerry did say 2. I'm pretty sure he said 2, yeah.
Yeah.
I had this. The reason I picked this game was I had Sligo -4 for this game.
Antrim won last week, though.
I know, but come on.
And they're home. There we go.
All right. Gary is undefeated, 3 out of 3. He's both football and hurling champion, but he's won a tiebreak twice in a row. PJ, normally we'll do some kind of rotation. Winner stays on here. I think you've done enough to earn another crack at the whip in both next week. If you're
Donny must have been really bad, like.
Well, ultimately,
I'm not going to be here next week, lads. I'm not here next week, so there's a number 1 contender match to take me on.
That is right, actually. Yeah, Gary is off. So, possible number 1 contenders match. We will sort it out. We will. Gary or no Gary, champion or no champion. It's like a Masters without Tiger Woods. But we will still go ahead. The show must go on. We will have Guess the Handicaps next week, even without Gary. Of course, we are here every Thursday and Friday. So please do hit the subscribe button, and you will be let know whenever we have a new show up. Hurling on Thursday, football on Friday. We're here with you every week for the rest of the season. Take it easy.